I guess we can start now. So, welcome to the Virtual Open Day presentation of the Philosophy Master Program in Tartu. My name is Francesco Orsi. I am the Program Director of the Master's Program now. And I'm an Associate Professor in Theoretical Ethics here in Tartu. And I've been working here for 14 years. So I'm not Estonian myself, as you could guess from my name, perhaps. But I've been working here for a longer time than anywhere else. So welcome to this talk. I'm going to now share my screen with you. Let's see if it works. You should be able to see the slides. Right. So what you're here for is because you are interested in learning about our master's program and probably learning about what to study in philosophy, what to expect. So in this talk, I'm going to just give you 3 reasons to study philosophy here in Tartu. But first, a little preliminary. So what is philosophy? Some of you might have studied philosophy before. Some of you may not have studied philosophy before. So I'm just going to give you a little, a quick presentation of the kinds of questions and the kinds of problems that philosophers investigate and that you might study yourself. So let's think about this situation here. There's a tram or a trolley that is going down its rails, right? Unfortunately, there are 5 people who have been tied to the rails. As you can see, those 5 people all wrapped up, and there's no way for you to for anybody to really to stop this trolley or to the only thing you can do is you're the little man there acting on that strange kind of bar or lever. What you can do is you can activate this lever and move it to the other side of the tracks where there is only one person who has been tied to the rails, right? So you have the power of basically deciding who's gonna die or at least get really badly hurt in this situation, right? It's either the 5 people there or the one person on the other one, right? And the question would be like, what should you do? It's not just what would you do, but what would be the morally right thing for you to do, right? And you just happen to be there, right? And happen to have this responsibility, I guess, in your hands, right? Should you let the tram or trolley go down its track and kill 5 people? Or should you move it so that, or should you move the lever so that it only kills 1 person? Okay. Now, many people are, when they think about it, it seems to be to them like, well, actually, you should. It's very unfortunate, but you still should move the trolley to the track with 1 person, because 1 death is better than 5 deaths, or 5 deaths are worse than 1 death. The 1 death. Okay, not everybody perhaps thinks this, but then what about the next scenario here? There are still these 5 very unlucky people tied to the track, right? And there's the trolley coming. The trolley just cannot stop, right? And then there's a bridge, and you're standing on the bridge, and there happens to be a person on the bridge, just looking down. And the size of the person is big enough so that if the person were on the tracks, right? So if you basically push the person down the track, the trolley would kill this 1 person, right? But the 5 people wouldn't die, right? So the question here would be like, what should you do? And if you think that no, it would be very, very moral to push this 1 person off the bridge, even if in order to save 5 lives, then the real question as for philosophers would be like, okay, but what is the difference then between the 2 scenarios? What is the difference if you just divert the trolley onto the path where only one person will die, and the other scenario where we need to push somebody down. And so still in both scenarios, we have 5 deaths against 1 death, right? The only difference seems to be what particular action you would be doing. Okay, that's one kind of question that philosophers, especially in moral philosophy, would ask, or in ethics. Another kind of question is, what do we know, but also what is there out in the world? So imagine there is this scientist, this woman here, whose name is Mary, and she's also not very lucky, unfortunately, because she's been living all of her life in a room, right, where colors just are not visible, right? Even the color of her hair, which here is blue, or the color of her face, pink, right? They're just not visible. The room has been darkened in such a way that colors become invisible, pretty much in the way when you when it's kind of getting dark, or it's actually dark in the room, and you can only see, like, at most you can see like grays, and you can see shades, but you can't really see the colors of things. Now, Mary has been studying during her whole life color science. Right? As you can see here, she's got she has a pile of books about vision, about the neuroscience of vision, about which objects have which colors, and so on. And so, in a way, she knows a lot of things about colors. She knows the physics of colors. She knows the optics. She knows what goes on in the brain when we see certain colors, and so on. But it's fair to say that she has never seen any color in her life. Now, one day, finally, poor Mary is able to get out of her room, right? And she goes out, and she starts seeing trees and flowers and the grass and the sky and all that, right? Now the question is, suppose she really knew all about the science of colors while she was in the room, right? Does she know anything new now that she's out of the room, and now that she's able to actually see the colors with her own eyes, right? Now, some philosophers, perhaps many philosophers, think that, yeah, she learns something new, something she didn't know before, even if she knew all about the science of colors. And that would go to show that experience, or first-hand experience, is actually necessary for certain kinds of knowledge, right? But not everybody agrees. There are other philosophers who think that Mary already knew all that there is really to know about colors while she was in the room, right? And when she goes out, she doesn't learn anything that is fundamentally new, right? She might be amazed and all that, right? But in terms of knowledge, she doesn't learn anything new. Okay, that's another kind of question that philosophers pose. Now, for a different kind of topic, perhaps within philosophy, what philosophy can do is to look at the history of philosophy. So to think about somebody like Aristotle, one of the most famous philosophers, right, ever lived, and look at their texts. And then when you look at philosophers' texts, you can find things like this. So that in one part, Aristotle says something like, women are not able to reason well, therefore women cannot be moral people, right? But then in another part of the text, or maybe in another text, Aristotle also says something like, men should leave to women the management of home and children, right? So when you're looking at older texts of philosophy, right, you might start wondering, is Aristotle just contradicting himself, saying one thing in one place, saying the opposite thing in the other place, right? How should we make sense of this, right? Should we just say that Aristotle was basically confused, right? Or should we perhaps try to make sense of why he says one thing and why he says something that sounds like the opposite in another place, right? Because of course, if women cannot be moral people, then why should men trust women with the care of the home and children, right? Maybe men should do it themselves, right? And right. So this is another kind of question that when you study philosophy, right? I mean, especially when you look at the history of philosophy, you might want to, and philosophers do pursue, right? Okay, so this is as much as needed for a preliminary about philosophy. Now let's move to Tartu. Three reasons why you should study philosophy in Tartu. Well, the first reason is just us, who we are, our faculty. We have a very diverse body of professors and lecturers. Some of them are local Estonians. Some of them, like me, have come from abroad, and most of us have studied abroad at some point in our studies. A couple of things I wanted to say that that might not be obvious. First of all, is that we are devoted teachers. We spend a lot of time for our students or with our students, right? As you can see here, one of my colleagues in 2020 was awarded the prize for the university best teacher. And I actually calculated that on average, our MA students receive as much as 420 hours of attention in one way or another from their supervisors. And this even not counting the supervision that is required for when you write your master's thesis. So as master students, you will be really sort of cared for by us. On the other hand, though, we're not just good and devoted teachers, but we are also active researchers who publish, and we publish in the best places available in the philosophy publishing business. So as you can see here, there are some famous names that might or might not sound famous to you, like Oxford University Press, Cambridge University Press, and then some journals which are universally recognized as top journals, like Mind or Mind and Language or Philosophical Studies or Synthese. And our research interests are very diverse. So you might find at some point that the philosophy academic world tends to be divided into analytics and continentals. But as you can see from this slide here, our interests are very pluralistic. So some of us work more in the analytic tradition, some of us work more in the continental tradition, and regardless of which tradition, what we care about is like the actual topics that we're trying to cover. So here's just a sample of paper titles, book titles, research projects that we have in our department, ranging from, for example, here, meal and sexual reform, to questions about time, or questions in political philosophy, such as like statelessness, refugees, or like I gave you the example before about Aristotle and women, right? So we cover a very wide range of research topics. So that will be the first reason to join our master program. The second reason is the studies you will be doing here. Because our program is quite unique, quite special. As you can see from this like little pie chart here, most of your studies would be devoted to, well, to two things here. So this green slice here, that is the specialization model, and the blue slice here, which is the master's thesis. And so these compose what, 65% of your studies. I will talk about the specialization and the master thesis also in a second. The rest of your degree would be composed of subjects that you take in common with your fellow students, and that's this yellow slice here, and then there's this 10% of elective courses to be chosen from a certain list, right? And then there's a 5% of so-called optional courses, which you're free to choose from whatever courses you feel like doing. And then there's a 5% of practice, which consists in some kind of work experience or internship someplace, or helping out with our own research in some ways, or helping out with organizing conferences. A very wide variety of options here that you will find. So in a way, our program can be approached like a menu, right, with some entrees, which would be the master seminar, the MA seminar, which is a course that runs throughout the 4 semesters you would be here. Each semester there's a section of the master seminar, and the research seminar, which is a course that everybody takes during the first semester here, and where our own current research is given to you for study, right? So you would actually study what we are doing, or some of us at least are doing at the moment or in the very recent past. The main course then would be this specialization module, and I'll talk about it in a second, with some side dishes such as the electives, the optionals, and the practice. And finally, a dessert. And the dessert would, of course, be the master's thesis, your final, basically, effort in your studies. So let's talk a little bit about the specialization module, because this is something that you haven't probably seen anywhere else during your studies. And it's something also you might not see when you look for other master's programs around the world. So the specialization module is basically a box, like on the picture here. And you can fill in this box pretty much the way you and your supervisor want. So that's going to be a mix of ordinary classes that I put here. And classes will be taken mostly, of course, from our own department of philosophy. But again, you will be free to choose classes also from other departments. If you have some interests in psychology, then you might take some courses from psychology. If you have interests in literature, you might take courses in literature, right? This is going to be, you're going to be pretty free to choose which courses and classes you take. And the other component is what is called here individual studies. And individual studies are basically one-on-one or maybe one-on-two moments where you meet with your supervisor, right? And you study a specific text, perhaps, or a specific collection of texts, right? That you feel are relevant for your research, and that which will be useful when you start running your master's thesis later in the program. So this is very much like a one-on-one tutorial style part of our program that you're not compelled to do, right? But most of our students have done and do enjoy it a lot. So here's just a sample of how the whole 4 semesters are going to look, right? You're going to have a first semester here in red here, where you take, for example, the research seminar that I mentioned before. You take a bunch of courses. You might get started even in the first semester on some individual study, like this student took in theoretical philosophy, which means that they took this course with a professor belonging to the theoretical philosophy chair. Then moving on to the second semester, the student took some more courses, right, but also some more individual study. Then moving on to the second year, that is the third semester, where individual studies, as you can notice here, have become bigger. The student took 10 credit points for individual studies during this semester. And this is also very important, you're going to get started on your master's thesis early, that is during the third semester. You're going to have to write what we call a prospectus, that is a quite detailed plan of what your thesis is going to be like. This is supposed to help you to plan in advance. And so in the fourth semester, you will have time to start actually writing the thesis, and maybe also to take some other courses and maybe do your practice during the first semester. So there's going to be lots of opportunities here. Right. So since you're given so much freedom, right, to fill in this box the way that you like, the supervisor's role is very important in our program. So the supervisor is the person who helps you put together your semester plan, who is going to eventually supervise and advise your master's thesis. They're going to be the one to do individual studies with you, although you can also do them with other members of faculty. And supervisor is also going to be the first person to ask or to turn to if you need advice on applications for PhD programs later, right? If you need advice on scholarship or advice on career, but in general, right? So this cooperation between you and the supervisor is very much a central and quite distinctive element of our program. You will see perhaps in other programs that the supervisor only advises the thesis, for example, right? But in our program, the supervisor takes on a much more important role. Now, the master's thesis, what we expect of a master's thesis is a piece of original research in philosophy, right? So by the time you need to write the master's thesis, you will have read a lot of philosophy. You will have formulated some questions or some topics that really interest you, right? And here I gave you just a sample of titles of recent master's theses. As you can see, the topics range from one area of philosophy to the other area of philosophy, right? We have feminist perspectives on cyber sex. We have universal basic incomes and happiness, or something in between political philosophy and let's say psychology. Can computers be creative? Why there is no free will? Medicalization, values, and patient participation. Testimonial smothering. You might not know what that means, but that's good in a way, because that shows the level of specialization that our master students actually reach. So if you go and visit our page, and when you find the page for the where are all the titles of our master's thesis, you might not actually understand much from the title, but that just goes to show, right, how sophisticated your studies will become by the time you write your master's thesis, right? Or more historical works like this one on the bottom, Kant on manipulation and personal autonomy, or again this title, The Problem of Convictions Based on Statistical Evidence, which is something in between the philosophy of law, but also epistemology. This is just a little like sample of what our students have done and what you might do yourself along similar lines. Now, the third reason to join our program has to do with your future, right? As this nice little comic says, this guy says, me, I'm going to be a philosopher. By the time I grow up, robots will be doing everything else, right? And so in this sense, it is true that philosophy will give you the kind of skills, I guess, that will be needed in what some people call the smart society, right? And the smart society is not just made of smart machines, artificial intelligence and the like, right? But must be made of smart people, smart thinkers, smart, workers, right? And philosophy prepares you for that kind of career, right? Including a career that has to do with managing robots and guiding perhaps and regulating robots, right? So when you look at what our students have done after the master's program, well, many of them have gone on to study at a PhD program somewhere in the world, right? We have some examples here, people who went to Melbourne, Australia, Minnesota, the US, Maastricht in the Netherlands, or Columbia University in New York City. And as you can see from this example here of the University of Maastricht, not everybody has necessarily gone to a philosophy PhD program. This is also something that we stress, that we prepare our students also for a different kind of academic career that is not necessarily strictly in philosophy, right? And we really guide you like step by step when the time of applying for a PhD program comes. But we have also had many of our graduates going to work in places like, for example, this firm in Estonia that is called Starship Technologies. Basically, this is the people who created robot mail delivery, robots that go around the city and deliver mail and packages. Some people have become journalists or opinion writers for newspapers, like this Estonian newspaper, Postimees. And other people have become professionals in some kind of institutions like the Ministry of Education here, or the UNESCO organization that has to do with the United Nations Organization for Education and the like. So the future is pretty open. As you know, there isn't such a thing as a job that is specific for philosophers, apart, of course, from an academic career, right? But nonetheless, the kind of preparation you get and training you get here really gives you the skills to try different kinds of careers. Okay, so wrapping up, the 3 reasons to join our program are: first, our faculty, devoted teachers, world-class philosophers. Second, your studies, which are flexible and uniquely, I would say, tailored to your interests and needs, and which are very also research-driven. And thirdly, your future, because studying philosophy at Tartu will prepare you as a smart thinker and as a smart professional for the future. Okay, so this is to wrap up this last slide on the admissions practicalities, which you might have heard about before. You should definitely go and visit our admissions webpage here. The deadline application is 15th of March. This stuff you might not know, but I'm telling you now that we accept candidates with any kind of BA diploma. So you don't need to have studied even any philosophy before. And in fact, we have had many successful students coming from all other sorts of undergraduate studies, ranging from mathematics to literature, political science, psychology. We had all sorts of backgrounds. And the diplomas might be actually sent later, because I guess some of you will not have still finished, right, their undergraduate degrees. You're going to be assessed on the basis of 3 components: a motivation letter where you explain why you want to study philosophy and why you want to study philosophy with us in particular, right? I know that nowadays you can easily let a ChatGPT write a motivation letter for you, right? And even write a motivation letter that is somehow for us, right, for a Tartu application. But still, I really advise you not to do that, and I advise you to use like your personal tone and show us what really attracts you about studying in Tartu with us. Then you need to send a writing sample, a short essay, basically, which could be in philosophy, of course, if you have been studying philosophy. It could be also in a different subject, right? The point of it is that it should show how clearly you're able to write, how you're able to argue for a certain position, for a certain conclusion, right? In a way, what we are looking for here is like your logical skills, your reasoning skills, right? Even if it's not necessarily within philosophy. And then on the basis of motivational letter and writing sample, we will invite you to an interview, which is going to take place online. The top 8 applicants will not pay the fees. We're going to have 4 places reserved for the European Union citizens and 4 for non-European Union citizens. In any case, the fees are not too high if you compare them with other master's programs in Europe, you will see that 4,000 a year is actually not such a big sum of money. And that's all from me. Visit us on Facebook, and if you have like longer questions to ask, you can write at this address here, tartuphilosophy@ut.ee. So I'm going to now leave the presentation and check out what questions you had here. So I'm going to take them one by one, okay? And feel free also to add them while I'm talking right now. Right, so, well, I don't know whether Descartes versus Kant is the right sort of comparison to make. Maybe not. That there is room for a lot of discussion here. So then we have somebody asking about with a background in English, right? And that to me would be a very nice background to start from, right? And then there's a question about, is there anyone working on philosophy of mind and cognition? Yes. We have, I would say, at least 3 people whose research deals exactly with that. I can give you the names right now as we speak. One is Professor Bruno Mulder. Another is Ukku Toming, and the other one is Vivian Pusep. All of these 3 people are working on the philosophy of mind and philosophy of cognition, like broadly understood, to include, for example, also the cognitive sciences. One more question here. Are topics in Eastern philosophy included in the department's curriculum or research topics, philosophy of Eastern religions, for example? So if you look at the list of courses that we have been teaching or are teaching at the moment, let's see if I can type an answer here. I'm not sure I can do this, but I can put it in the chat. So if you go to the chat part of this webinar, I'm gonna post a link to our current courses. There you go. I think it should be house bands. There you go. Now you got it. Now you got it. So if you click on that link, you will see the courses that we've been teaching, we are teaching this semester, and also have taught in the past. And one of our courses indeed includes this Eastern philosophy, and in particular, it's actually the very first course you will find on this list: readings in Buddhist philosophy. Okay, so yes, there is also that kind of topic. If there are any more questions, please type them up. I'm gonna give you, I guess, I'm gonna stay live for like 4 minutes more. If you wanna type your questions in the chat or in the Q&A in the Q&A window. If you want to see a list of our faculty, I'm gonna put that in the chat as well. Let's see. There you go. You will see that we are technically, our department is technically divided into different chairs. So each of us belongs to a certain chair: history of philosophy, intellectual history, practical philosophy, theoretical philosophy, philosophy of science. But this doesn't mean that each of them is kind of a little world to itself. This is mostly just a bureaucratic division that we have. Most of our students have been visiting, so to speak, the different chairs of the department without any kind of problem in going from one to the other. So you will find me in the chair of practical philosophy, for example. Okay, if there are no more questions, then I hope to receive, well, first of all, questions from you in through the email, and I also hope I will see one of your applications when the time comes. So good luck and goodbye to everybody.